Hey everyone, I'm Matt Payne, and this is episode 458 of F-Stop, Collaborate, and Listen. Today I'm joined by Joy Kachina, a wilderness photographer based in Tasmania, whose work is deeply rooted in conservation, place, and mental health. Joy is the recent winner of the Natural Landscape Photography Awards, and her photographs focus on the protection of native endangered cider gums, some of the most threatened and quietly powerful trees on the island that she lives on. In this conversation, we talk about our mutual love of trees and how to photograph them. We also discuss our desire to use photography as an act of care, how to balance beauty with environmental truth, and what it means to advocate for a landscape you live with every single day. All right, let's dive into this week's episode with Joy Kachina. All right, Joy Kachina, it's great to have you on the podcast.
Oh, lovely to see you, Matt. Been looking forward to this. Thanks for inviting me. It's fantastic. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. I just have to say that all of my interactions with you, you're always so damn personable and bubbly. It's infectious.
Yeah, people say that my mum gave me the right name, which is so nice. But
there you go.
Yeah, yep. Joy to the world. I like to stay nice and positive.
I'm very familiar with your photography because you literally just won the Natural Landscape Photography Awards, which is the competition that I helped co-found with Tim Parkin and Alex Nail and Rajesh Jyotiswaran. But the rest of the world may not be as familiar with you and your photography, so would love for you to maybe just quickly introduce yourself and share a bit about who you are and what you love to photograph.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, well, I live on a tiny little island south of Australia. It's we call it Tasmania. A lot of people are quite aware of Tasmania. There's only about 250,000 people in the northern part and about the same in the southern part. So about 500,000 people live here. And we moved here 8 years ago from Queensland originally. We spent about 5 years in New Zealand, which I consider my home sweet home. I was really, really sad when we had to leave New Zealand. And so we were kind of looking for an Aussie version of New Zealand because the landscapes in New Zealand, as you know, are breathtaking. So we came down to Tassie, had a little look around and fell madly in love with the landscapes here. And my husband and I moved down with our doggies and my beautiful mum. And we've been here in the northern part, which we really love because we're surrounded, we're actually in a valley. It's called Meander Valley. And we're surrounded by national parks, conservation areas. Our view from our home is, I have, when the aurora's kicking off, I can just lift the blind in the living room and watch it dancing over Quamby Bluff. It's beautiful. So, yeah, I found myself here and I love nature and landscape photography. I've been doing it for about 30 years. So back in the film days. Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of the images that you love to photograph are those gum trees, which I think I was first introduced to seeing a lot of those from, I think Jeff Freestone does a lot of that photography as well.
Yeah,
but, yeah, it's a very peculiar looking tree.
So Jeff, actually, he lives in Victoria, another amazing Aussie photographer. I love Jeff's work. He shoots the Kosciuszko snow gums, and he's also up in the Victorian high country. So he gets some fantastic opportunities to photograph the snow gums there. The ones that I'm photographing here, we do have the Tasmanian snow gum here, which is found in the alpine areas, which is, again, stunningly beautiful. Quite remote, sometimes hard to get to, but it's well worth it. And then we've got the cider gums too, which is about an hour from home here up in the Central Plateau area. Very unique tree, critically endangered and only found here. There's only about 8 small stands left globally, only found in Tassie. So we've been kind of focusing on those quite a bit.
I've come to realize that I'm somewhat special in my love of trees. I recently finished about 20 days in Scotland, leading back-to-back workshops, and everywhere we went, I was photographing trees. Everyone else was photographing this or that or the other thing, but I was photographing trees, trying to show people trees, like, look how amazing these trees are. And I found it sort of difficult to get people excited about trees. So, and I know that's something that you love to photograph as well, so we must just be weird.
Definitely. Although, when you spend some time in the forest, you can't help yourself. It's quite amazing, really. So, yeah, because I saw some of your images actually, because you spent some time with Tim there too, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
And you had, I think it was the aspens down
the
valley near, yeah.
Yeah, they have a lot of birches and, oaks, and it's very larches. It's a very diverse landscape for trees. I was actually quite impressed with the diversity because it's not something I'm used to here in Colorado.
Yeah, well, I kind of have a little bit of tree envy from all my photographer friends over in the UK and Europe as well. I mean, there's some incredible deciduous trees and what have you. Here too, we have some remarkable trees in Tasmania, and they're only found here. So I think it's about 60% of all the flora and fauna here in Tasmania is only found here. There's nowhere else on Earth. It's amazing.
I think what I love the most about photographing trees is that they have so much character, and they can display so many types of metaphors and stories that they can tell just with the way they're gesturing and the gnarliness of them. And
yeah.
When I was looking at your photography, that was something that immediately struck me, was just how much personality you're able to pull out of these trees and all of the stories that you're able to tell through the images that you capture. And I was curious if that's something that you do intentionally, that you see right away, or if it's just, how does that work for you?
I think, Matt, I spend a lot of time just on the land in the area. So when I go out, I like to just spend some time wandering around. A lot of people don't know, when I was a little girl, I used to sense things that other people didn't sense, and feel things that other people didn't feel, see things that other people didn't see. So I was a little bit different in a lot of ways. And so I guess it makes you quite sensitive to what's around you. So I like to spend a fair bit of time just wandering around and getting a feel for what's there. I don't plan a lot of shoots. I actually very intuitive. So yeah, I spend some time, and it's almost like the trees talk to me, and yes. I get pulled in a particular direction. One of the beautiful things about the cider gums in particular is they have a lot of cultural significance for our Indigenous Palawa people here in Tasmania. So hundreds of years ago, they would tap the tree with a stone axe. They'd make a cut in the bark, and then it would weep, and they'd collect that sap. And they would actually make a drink called Wyalina, and it was actually a fermented kind of drink, so semi-alcoholic. But what's wonderful is when you're walking around the trees, you kind of get a sense of all that. It's quite remarkable. There are generational tapping scars on the trees. A lot of the trees that I do shoot are deceased. They've passed away. And as the trees actually do start to withdraw, their branches weep right down to the ground. So they're just so full of character and this structural form that is actually quite beautiful. And they become like something else. So they transform into a home for lichens, mosses, wombats, spotted quolls, eagles. Yes. It's quite remarkable. And yeah, so I kind of feel like they just draw me in, and then I can see almost like a portrait of a person. So that's
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tim took me to this oak forest when I was in Scotland, and we were walking back to the car late evening. sun was getting low, and we noticed this giant oak tree like had just fallen over like halfway down the trunk. It just split. And apparently it was fairly new because Tim hadn't seen it before. And we were immediately pulled into it because like, oh my gosh, look at that tree. And it was covered in all of these different kinds of mushrooms and fungi, and like mosses and lichens. I mean, it just became this, it was just teeming with life. And it was so much fun to photograph stuff in there.
I know. You can kind of get lost for hours, can't you?
Yeah, we were both like, wow, are we just nerds, or like, is this cool? Like, what's going on?
Yeah. Oh, well, join the club. It's a wonderful club.
Yes. So I'm curious, how did you first get into photography, and what eventually led you towards wilderness and landscape work in Tasmania?
So I took a trip in my late 20s around Australia, and my partner at the time had bought me a Canon 1000 FM film camera as a gift for my birthday. So we took that along. And it was really funny because I'd always been really quite drawn to a lot of the Australian photographers back in the day, which were, Steve Parrish, he's now in his 80s. Ken Duncan used to do the most incredible panoramic photographs. So I was always kind of drawn to those things. And so when I went around Australia, I took the camera, found myself going out all the time into the national parks and just wanting to create photographs because everything I saw was so incredibly beautiful. And I have this passion within me to share. I want people to feel good. And so when you're out in nature, of course, it just makes you feel so alive. So I traveled around. It got quite expensive because I kept sending the film back. I actually have this really funny story about, we were about 3/4 of the way around. I think we were up in the Daintree or something like that. So we'd gone all the way around, and I was sending away to buy my film. So I was using Fuji Velvia and Fuji Reala film, and I'd run out of film. I was really sad because we were going into this amazing waterfall. We were visiting this waterfall, and I thought, what am I going to do? I almost felt really devastated that I didn't have enough film. So anyway, we're walking down this track, and it was a couple of kilometres into this waterfall, and all of a sudden I just looked down on the ground, and there's a pack of film, and there's a 3-pack of this film. But it wasn't any film. It was Fuji Reala. And I thought, how is that possible? Because we were in the middle of nowhere. And so it's almost like, ask and you shall receive. So I found that quite amazing. I never forgot that story because I was just so gobsmacked that, not just any film, but obviously it had fallen out of someone's pack. And it wasn't a popular film back then. People were using Kodak 100 and gold and things like that. So that was pretty funny, that one. So, just started from there and continued. I put the camera down for a little while during those film days, and then when digital started coming in the 2000s, I went and bought my first I think I got a Nikon D90 or something like that, started playing around with that. So.
Classic.
Yeah, classic. It's still a good little camera.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, it was like the predecessor to the D7000, which was my first DSLR.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great.
That's awesome. Well, we had kind of mentioned it in the beginning, but obviously you recently won the Natural Landscape Photography Award, which I helped to create. Congratulations
again. Thank you so much, by the way.
I just wanted to hear, what was it like learning that you won?
Are you going to make me cry, aren't you?
Well, hopefully not, but,
No, it was completely surreal. Absolutely one of the biggest shocks I think I've ever had in my life. No, it was, I loved, we got the email to say, can you jump on and have a Zoom meeting, and I thought, oh, wow, okay, maybe I've got runner-up in a category or something like that. It was really exciting. I thought, wow, this is because it's such a beautiful platform to showcase real photographs. This is something that I absolutely love. A little bit of a purist when it comes to photography. And, yeah, as it got kind of counted down, and I kept thinking, well, surely, I'm going to have my name called out soon. And then when it got to the final two of Photograph of the Year or Photographer of the Year, I thought, oh, okay, wow, I've got, Photograph of the Year, that'd be amazing. And it wasn't me. I actually, I just,
Yeah, I was gonna say,
didn't know what.
I feel like my heart would explode.
I know, it did explode. And you were there, and then I just felt completely, I didn't know what to say. It was just so totally unexpected. I originally, the year before, I just entered one image, and I think it got third in the monochrome, which was fantastic.
Yeah, that was the tree with the mist coming out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So this year, I just decided, well, I'll just put a couple of photos in. And as I was going through my catalogue, I kept finding a few other pieces that I thought, oh, that might be nice. And I kept going and going. And then I thought, well, if you're going to be a bear, be a grizzly, like really go for it. So I entered the full 18. And I thought, well, if we can get one of Tassie's trees in the book, that would be really lovely. But I certainly wasn't expecting to get Photographer of the Year. So amazing. That's something that will stay with me, Matt, for the rest of my life. It was a really special experience. So thank you.
Oh, yeah, of course. So as you know, I also enjoy entering competitions as well. And one of the things that I love most about it, like I never expect to win anything, but I do enjoy the process of like going through my images and being overly critical about what I think would do best given the parameters of any given competition. And I'm curious, what was the process you went through in order to decide which images to enter?
Really, it was just probably remembering how I felt when I was in the landscape. In particular, Tasmania has some pretty wild places, and it's so beautiful, but it's mainly about the memories that you have taking the photographs. I think that made me choose what I actually chose. There was a particular image there in the blue gum forest, which isn't far from home here, and it was just the way the light was falling in the forest. There was fog and mist. I remember being bitten by leeches, which is always fun, in Tassie. And spending time with my husband too, because he really loves and enjoys photography as well. He comes with me. So we kind of go out together and you have this shared experience in the forest where it's quiet and you've just got, maybe a little paddy melon hopping by and you've got some birds, and it's really beautiful. So I think mainly I chose the images from that place of just having such a good feeling of being there. There's another image in the folio that I really love that I took in the Tarkine on the coast. It's actually a piece of granite that sits, dolerite granite that sits the shoreline in Kachina. And I just saw this etched kind of form of a mountain, and then I saw this bird, and then I got the feeling of in that space there are Aboriginal mittens, which are like mounds with beautiful shells where they used to collect and forage for food. And I just got this sense of like this spirit taking off this mountain. And I just saw this form and I went, oh, wow, I'll take that shot, And I remember the feeling I had when I took that. I thought, okay, well, I'll pop that in. It's not something I would normally take. But in saying that, I got the NLPA volumes. I've got 2 of those the year before. And I was so inspired by everybody's kind of intimate landscape and abstract work and things like that. So I thought, I'll have a little play with that. And that was good. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. So.
I love what you just said about your curation process for entering was based on feelings, because I feel like so many people, including myself, I try to remove feelings from the process of deciding things like that in terms of like, okay, is this composition good? Is the editing look okay? Have I missed any, like, what, will this make the judges impressed or whatever? Like, it's a thinking process, but for you, it sounds like it was, this feels right.
Yeah, I always go with my gut. It's the funny thing, isn't it? We're all wired differently. And I think I spoke to you a little bit about, I've been reading that book of Sean Tucker's. I finished, it was such a great book, The Meaning in the Making. And I am a perfectionist. I really am. And after reading that book, it just helped me so much to just, kind of pull back a little bit and just say, it's okay. Just create. Just be a creator. I really enjoyed that process. And that after reading that, I actually started to free up a lot more and just see beyond what was there. Yeah, it was a great experience, that. So
yeah, I think a lot of people think about competitions the wrong way. They think about them in terms of like it being some kind of form of external validation, and then they go out to make images to placate what the competition is looking for. And I think a better approach is to just go create to whatever you feel is like speaks to you, whatever that is. Like for you, it's trees and abstract forms and things of that nature. And then if there's a competition that celebrates that type of photography, then put it in there and see what happens. Like, to me, that's a much more logical thought process.
Yeah, exactly. It was funny. Someone recently posted an image that was the exact same image of one of my trees that I had in the folio in NLPA. And this person sent me a message quietly and said, I've just been waiting for you to get over your results win, etc. So I could share this image, which was exactly the same as mine. And I thought, well, why didn't you, it kind of, I don't know, people say, you can take that as a compliment that somebody's gone and wanted to get the exact same image as you and share it with the world exactly the same, but just be authentic. Just go out and decide that, I don't have to copy anybody else. It's really good to be inspired by other people, don't get me wrong. But I was just a little bit taken aback that this person had taken the exact same image, the exact same composition, and then for whatever reason decided to send me a message and say, I've taken this too, and I went, okay, that's fine. But, there were a lot of other trees there too that you kind of missed.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation that unfortunately sometimes competitions can get wrong because we don't always see who did it first. And fortunately, like, that's why having a experienced judging panel who's looked at a lot of different photographs and has traveled a lot of the world, they can spot stuff like that where, like, for example, having Matt Palmer on our judging panel these last 2 years has been really helpful because there were some images that made it pretty far into the competition from Tasmania, I think, that he was able to share with us that, like, actually this is a pretty common scene in Tasmania. Like, a lot of people have a very similar photograph of this particular subject, and it's not really anything that interesting. Like, it's a good rendition of that particular subject, but it's a dime a dozen. If you've come here, you probably would get it too. And so from where I sit, at least as an administrator of a competition, my goal is always to, like, reward photographers who have to bring a little bit of themselves to the process of image making, whether that be connection to the subject, creativity, composition, showing me something that maybe I've never seen before. And,
I love that.
Of course, every year we get images that are submitted that are like here's that same composition of that same scene that you've seen 25 other times before. And typically those photographs don't do as well in our competition because it's not easy to impress us with those because we've seen them done before. So it's a little bit unfortunate that I've noticed some other competitions like don't have a process for downgrading some of that type of stuff in terms of like a lack of originality. I know last year in International Landscape Photographer of the Year, there was a photo that someone won with that was like literally the exact same composition, processed the exact same way as a Josh Snow image from like 4 years earlier. And like stuff like that, it's like judges should be, especially within the same competition, the same judges, you'd think they would look at that and be like, oh no, we've seen that before. No, thank you. But they don't seem to have that same value system, which I find interesting.
I love that Matt was actually on the panel because I knew that he'd be really hard on me because he's from Tassie. I mean, he lived here. He breathed Tasmania. He knows the state so well. And I thought, wow, actually when I won, I thought that's amazing because I knew that for Matt to be on the panel and for the Tasmanian landscapes to get to such a high level, I must have done something right, which I'm really, really grateful for. But again, I never went out with the intention of shooting for the competition.
Right.
I always go out for the experience. And if I end up getting a really beautiful photograph as a result of that experience, then I want to share it. That was really, really great. And actually, it was Mika. You've spoken to Mika Boynton. She's so gorgeous. Love Mika. I actually stopped entering competitions. So when I lived in New Zealand, I ended up judging for the Photographic Society of New Zealand. I entered, there was a particular landscape competition over there that was kind of like the pinnacle of landscape photography in the Photographic Society there. So I entered that and I ended up getting a gold award for that, which was like, for me, it was, oh, wow, where do you go from here? It was so good. But then I just felt that I didn't need to do it anymore. It was like I just wanted to go and create photographs that made me feel good. And if they inspired other people, then that was fantastic. So actually, when I came back from New Zealand, because I was so sad that we had to leave, I put the camera down for a while. It was about a year or so ago, that Mika sent me a message on Instagram. And she said, hey, Joy, why don't you start entering some comps, this is really good. And she just gave me that little nudge, and I really appreciated that because I just wasn't going to do that.
Yeah.
So I was really grateful to Mika for, just seeing something in my work that she really appreciated. And it just went from there. So, and then she actually also introduced me to the NLPA just through her feed, just seeing because that shot that she got over in WA of the ocean daisy, oh, so good. So amazing.
Still one of my favorite photographs ever.
Still one of my favorites too. Such a beautiful image. And I love the way the little tire tracks that went over the eyes.
Amazing. Eyelashes.
I know.
It's incredible.
Yeah, I know. So good.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we could talk about competitions all day, but I want to talk a little bit more about your photography process and the subjects you love to shoot. So I know that your work is deeply tied to the protection of the native endangered cider gums. And for those who are unfamiliar, we already talked a little bit about the cider gums, but I'd be curious, like, where do they grow and why are they under threat?
So they grow, Matt, up in the Central Highlands here, in the Plateau region, in the native forest. They, as I said earlier, are very culturally significant to the Indigenous people here in Tasmania, as well as everybody else too. But specifically, they have a long history connected to those trees. Back in the day, and I've been given permission to talk about this, when you were born into the tribe as a child, you were gifted a tree, a cider gum, and that tree was yours, and you took care of it, and you spent time with it. You may take some bark from it and utilize that bark. But you spent time with this tree, and over time you would carve an opening into the tree. And as your life developed, you would continue to go back to that tree and you would continue to carve that hole. You would even burn an opening into the tree, and it always faced south. And they would do that. And then when you passed away, you and the tree, you were placed in the tree. You became one with that tree. That tree was yours. And I think this is why, if you are a little sensitive, and I know a lot of people are, actually, when you go out and you just become quiet and you become still, you get a sense or a feeling or a presence of something special. And so, when you're walking through amongst these trees, you certainly get that feeling, which is really beautiful. But unfortunately, there's been a lot of overgrazing. So in order for the young trees to survive, they need an understory. And if you want to read a little bit more about understanding the relationship between trees, read Peter Wollobin's book, The Hidden Life of Trees. It helps you to understand how the whole forest is a network and they're all connected and they all support one another. So by not having that understory, the young saplings just can't survive. You've also got feral animals, so you've got deer and possums, even the native animals as well. They kind of they love to chew on the saplings, new shoots. Yeah, so that's been an issue. The climate is always changing up there. It used to be colder, now it's warmer. The trees prefer, damp, cold conditions. They grow above, 1,000 metres above sea level. So all those factors have caused them to decline rapidly. And they're just so incredibly special. So I have a friend, Fiona Francois. She's just such an amazing charcoal artist. We're doing an exhibition together next year. And we decided to pop up to the Highlands and just have a good look at these trees and see if we could do something to maybe support a regeneration project or something like that through her art and my visual storytelling through the photography. So that's how that started, just with the cider gums. And it's been nearly 5 years, 4.5, 5 years now. I've been shooting them. I love going out in the wild weather, as you know.
As you were talking, it struck me that you have such a deep connection with this tree, and you've developed a lot of knowledge and information about how it grows and why it's endangered and what's been used for in the past. How has that deeper appreciation and knowledge transformed the way that you photograph that subject?
You become incredibly mindful of, for instance, just walking through the understory. You tend to, maybe in the past I wasn't as mindful, even though, we try and walk through into nature, leaving no trace, protecting the environment. But by having a closer look at that understory and seeing all those plant communities that make up the whole, now when I go in to photograph, I'm so incredibly careful about where I put my feet, and because you don't know, you might have, a little gum that's going to be popping up. And so, just being really mindful of taking care of the environment while we're up there. And again, something else that was really interesting with the trees, as I was wandering through the forest there, as I was saying earlier, because I'm a little bit different, I get a feeling like I had this impression from one of the big cider gums that is a big living gum there. And it's funny too, because the owner of the property, because this is on 600 acres of private property where I go, I have names for all the trees. And she wants to get little labels made, because there's some pretty funny names. But there's one particular big living gum. She's just a beautiful tree. And I just got this feeling that she said, here we are, you're taking photographs, but what about if you decide to include everybody else in this photograph so that you can tell the story of how important it is, how we all live together as a community, as a network. The biodiversity of the ecosystem there is just so important. And so I started playing with the multiple exposure in camera because, again, like I said, I love Lightroom. I don't use Photoshop, even though, Photoshop's great. I don't have any problem with people using it, but I prefer to use Lightroom. And so I like to do things in camera. So I just started to play, and all of a sudden these really interesting exposures, these frames started to come about. And then I found the work of like Wendy Bagnall, Sally Mason, Beth Bulow. Bilo.
I know.
Sorry, Beth.
I've messed it up too many times now, so I'm getting it right.
Yeah, we've got Karen Waller here in Australia, beautiful photographer. And I just thought, oh, wow, so there's a whole other way of maybe expressing a story through photography that isn't just documenting what's in front of you. There's something more. And I've been really excited about that, Matt. Martin Osner, he's incredible. I'm looking forward. Actually, I'm going to do his online course because I'd like to take that creativity further with the trees. But that's how that kind of started. And I thought, what a beautiful way to tell their story. So that's actually evolving into an exhibition next year, which will be really nice. So
I love that. I don't know if you saw, but we added a special award next year for NLPA for multiple exposure stuff.
You didn't, did you?
We did.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
We opened up a giant can of worms, so it'll be very interesting to see.
You sure have.
But yeah. I personally really wanted to see it, and I've gotten a lot of messages from people of people's photography that I really admire, and they're like, I would enter your competition, but it doesn't really fit. And I'm like, well, let's change that.
I know. Oh my goodness, now I'm really excited.
Yeah. So anyway, just thought I'd throw that in there.
Oh, thank you. That's awesome. But now I've got all these ideas popping into my head now.
Yeah, it's a really interesting way to think. I dabble in it a little bit, but I want to do a lot more of it someday. I'm still waiting for Sony to update their firmware so that they can actually do it on camera. So if anyone's from Sony listening,
yeah, please come on. I can give you a little bit of advice. After we started playing with the multiple exposure in camera, what we found really, really helped. I'm telling my little secret now, but it works a treat every time, is you have your subject, and normally you'll have your subject as a silhouette. So it doesn't have to be a fantastic photo, but have a good composition. But if you can have dark and light, and then use a texture over the top of that, and we normally underexpose the texture a little bit. So you can just dial down for your next exposure in camera, and you just dial down the texture, and that will come through. And I normally have it on average, because there's a dark, a light, and a kind of average, the three different levels in the Nikon system anyway. And yeah, I just shoot that way, and 9 times out of 10, it's bang on. It's really, really good. But you need that silhouette, and then you need that if you want to do that texture, whether it's, you can do anything. It's fantastic.
The thing I want to try, you get a nice sharp image of some trees, and then you throw it way out of focus, and you find like something that has like lots of highlights in it, like some water or something.
I love that.
And then shoot that, and then you've got those nice blurred out, specular, highlighty, kind of blurry things that are superimposed over the trees, and then you've got this really ethereal looking image. That's something that I want to play with, but I want to be able to see it, and I can't do that with a Sony.
But you just posted a photograph in the last few days. It became one of my favorites. And it's those two leaves just just touching each other with the reflections of the trees in the water that to me, that was like two lovers just connected, like an old married couple or something just connected. It was such a beautiful image. I could just sit there and look at that for so long. It was gorgeous, and the colours were really, really lovely. So
thank you.
Sometimes
Appreciate
you don't
that.
need to do multiple exposure.
Well, I have a little secret for you. That image is actually 2 different exposures.
Ah, there you go.
Because you can't get the water reflection and the leaves in the same plane of focus.
Yeah.
So I had to expose for both.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Anyway. No, that's a beautiful image, Matt. Really.
So
nice.
I want to talk a little bit more about trees. So what I've found through teaching workshops is that a lot of people struggle seeing compositions in trees, understanding how to photograph trees. I used to find it really difficult myself. I'd be curious, when you're out photographing trees, which you've done so well, what are you looking for in terms of light, mood, and conditions that help convey both their beauty and their vulnerability? Like, what are the things you're drawn to that help convey the stories that you're trying to tell?
Well, if we, with the cider gums in particular, because they live in such an extreme environment, we love to photograph those in the snow. So, those conditions are fantastic. Up in the Highlands, you can have a sun shining one minute and then, just be hammered literally by wind and snow the next. And it surprises me actually how enduring and resilient those forests are up there, because the weather is so extreme. How I normally go about approaching a photograph, especially with the cider gums, is I treat it like a portrait of a person. So I look for the character in the trunk. I will more than likely fill the frame as much as I can, but just find a way for those branches and angles to come in so that your eye's going into something interesting that is maybe on the trunk. I know Peter Dombruskas, who I absolutely love, he used to treat trees as if he was, taking a portrait. And I follow that philosophy as well. So I used to do a lot of portraiture actually back in the day. And so, I just treat the trees as if they're a person and make it interesting. Look for the interesting parts and fill the frame.
Yeah, look for what makes that tree stand out. Like, is it?
Yeah, fill the frame. That one of the, it was funny, the one that's in the folio, snow gum with the pandani, I call it the living gallery, because it's when you're in that landscape, there is so much life. And, I was sitting on a mossy, wet boulder taking that shot. And as I was looking at that tree, it almost looked like he was running past me and glancing at me as he was taking a run. And I thought it was just so comical almost. Sometimes the trees, they have such quirky little features, but that particular one made me feel like he was the running man or something, funny.
Yeah, I was going to say, one of the things I appreciate about your images is that it seems like you're using a wide array of focal lengths as well. You've got some scenes where it's pretty clear that it's a telephoto in the distance, and you've got other images where it's pretty obvious that you're using like a 24 or 14 millimeter lens, and you're kind of closer in, and you're using the shape of the tree to kind of help convey the scale. And I just love that you're able to flex all those different focal lengths to make it work.
Yeah, I kind of switched over. I used to be one of those people that shot with the 16 to 35 all the time on a tripod. And then when mirrorless came out, I threw the tripod away. But in saying that, I just won an incredible tripod. and, and it has inspired me. I ended up getting a Leo photo geared head for that tripod, for the FLM tripod. So I'm really looking forward to actually using it.
No, you're good. One of the other things that I like to do is I try to look at the trees as abstractions, like they're just shapes and lines. So or like
Yeah.
clusters of shapes. So for example, like one of my favorite things to do is find a hillside full of trees and then look for patterns. Or for example, like I photographed this hillside recently where it was like evergreens and larches, and there was
saw
like
that one.
purple in the middle. So you had like green, purple and red or yellow in the same photo. And it was like trying to arrange the composition to where it was almost like this kind of just nice tapestry of color.
Beautiful.
So I'm always looking for like, or like maybe you have trees where it's like patterns of like, here's 3 trees that look the same and then 2 that are totally different. So I'm always looking for those juxtapositions of shapes and lines as well. I'm curious if that's something that you are drawn to as well, or
Yeah, I do that a lot. I'm always looking for the quirky one that stands out,
yes,
that doesn't fit in.
yeah, the funky guy.
Yeah, the one that just takes your eye and goes, you don't look right, but you're so wonderful. I'm going to have to photograph
I'm the
you.
same.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, look at that tree. That tree is so weird looking. I got to photograph that one.
Yeah. I think too, if you keep the sky out of the frame as much as possible with the trees, you know, it helps to keep the eye in the frame. When I shoot, I always find the sky is so distracting. It's hard sometimes.
For my Scotland tree images, I think maybe 1 out of 40 has a sky in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's great. Yeah.
I'm the same.
It's a good way to shoot them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're wonderful.
And usually if I have any sky, it's behind a bunch of trees.
Yeah, well, again, the silhouettes are really nice. So have a little play with that, with your multiple exposure. Come on, Stoney.
I know. I actually did a little experiment for my Colorado full colors. I have this 10 millimeter lens that I like to play with, and it's a pretty cliche trope image where you get under the canopy with a wide angle and you shoot up into the canopy. Yeah. It's a very cliche Colorado photograph. But I wanted to do something different with it. And what I did was I got that 10 millimeter photo and then I cropped it into a square. And then what I did is I duplicated the layer and I rotated it 90 degrees, duplicated it, rotated it 90. And I did that like 3 or 4 or 5 times, maybe more than that. And then every layer in Photoshop, I changed the, not only the opacity, but also the blend mode. So you had like this weird ghost effect that happened.
Oh, wow.
And I don't think anyone ever noticed it, but I was like, this is kind of, because my buddy who I sent all my photos to, he sent that one to me. He's like, kind of an overdone idea, but it looks good. And I was like, well, I don't know if he noticed what I did, but I like to have fun with that, you know. I just got to play around.
You have to play. Right? Yeah. Well, actually, that's always good too. Like, yeah, if you don't have that functioning camera, you can just play with the blending modes in Photoshop. Like light and screen, I think light and screen and soft and overlay are really good. Soft light and overlay are really nice, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely, of course.
Kinds of things. But yeah, it's just about being authentic and creating something that, you know, you enjoy. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you a little bit more about the conservation side of your photography, because I know that you've mentioned that conservation is one of your primary motivations. I'm curious how you go about balancing aesthetic beauty with an honest depiction of environmental damage or change.
Yeah, it can be challenging, but with the particular trees I'm photographing, part of the sadness of losing them is when they die, when the life force withdraws, the branches weep right down to the ground and literally can come back up again. But in that demise, they actually then take on these incredible, characterful, quirky kind of structural forms that are really quite beautiful. And then if you've got some mist or some fog, you know, some snow, you can go in and create up. You know, I really love doing some black and white work actually with the trees up there. I've got a few there that I haven't shared. But yeah, so you can actually take on the form of that dead tree basically, and it moves people. People, they say to me, "Wow, like I had no idea about these trees, and look at that. Look how beautiful that is." And you get the light hitting it in a certain way. So yeah, you can actually create something beautiful that is, even though there's a sad story behind it. But in saying that too, when you're taking photographs of something that is endangered, it isn't always pretty. It isn't always a positive story at all. But I think that impacts the way people then respond when they see your work and they see, this beautiful dead big old tree. They kind of they say, oh well, what can I do? I actually want to do something to try and help so this doesn't keep happening. So
Yeah.
it's good.
I actually got inspired this fall to work on a project. I was at a conference that I spoke at, and Cole Thompson, I don't know if you're familiar with his photography. He's a black and white photographer based here in Colorado, but his work is really amazing. And he did a whole presentation about basically striking when the iron is hot. Like if creativity finds you in the moment, you need to take advantage of it right now, because 5-10 minutes from now, it's going to be gone.
Yeah.
And that really stuck with me. And this fall, I was camping with my best photography friend, Kane, and we found this new campsite that we had never camped at before, deep in the San Juan Mountains, full of aspen trees everywhere. It's beautiful. But it was obviously like a campsite that people had been going to every single year for generations of hunters, like families that would go there hunting for elk in the fall. And there's telltale signs of that, like they create these hunting structures in the trees where they would hang their kills in and stuff like that. Anyways, I was immediately struck by how many of these aspen trees had been carved.
Wow. Okay.
Like every year, like they had made a tradition of carving the year into the tree and their names and like different pictures and silhouettes of naked women and like literally I probably counted at least 50 trees that had been carved up over the years, just within a 50-yard radius of where I was camped at.
Wow.
And I was immediately struck, like, I need to make this is a project. And so I photographed all of these carved aspen trees in the most beautiful possible way that I could. It was like late morning light. It's not too bad. And I worked probably for about an hour and a half, and I got maybe 100 images. And I'm just going to turn it into a photo project and see what happens. But
fantastic.
It struck me in the moment as something that I needed. It was a story that I wanted to tell. I kind of want to put it out there as come to your own conclusions about this particular behavior. Because
it's environmental vandalism, isn't it, really?
That would be my take.
My take too. Yeah.
And if you think about like our ancestors, like the Puebloan people, they would carve symbols and things like that into rocks. And some people, I don't agree with this, but some people would argue that carving into aspen trees is a similar thing. Mm-hmm. And I don't, so I just want to put it out there as a question, right? Like,
sure.
Here are these aspen trees that have been damaged and destroyed by carvings.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
How do you feel about this? Yeah, I think it's important to have those conversations, Matt, and continue to have those conversations because, I think I was watching Gavin Hardcastle a couple of weeks ago or something, and he was somewhere beautiful in Nova Scotia, and he was by a lake, and then he kind of panned across, and there was somebody had just spray painted and carved their initials into all the rocks. And so you had this stunning landscape, but then it was just completely ruined by, just graffiti. And it wasn't graffiti that you could easily remove, it had been carved in there. So that's a little bit sad.
It is. But sad. I think I feel like it's a responsibility we bear as witnesses, as photographers who appreciate these places to tell those stories. Sure,
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's important.
All right. Well, I want to talk a little bit more about what you have coming up. I know you've got several exhibitions. I guess one of them is called Tales from the Trees of Old. Walk us through that particular show, the theme, and what you hope visitors experience when they walk in.
I'm getting a little bit excited about this one. It's only a couple of months away. We were lucky enough actually to have Bob Brown. He's our forest advocate here in Tassie. I mean, he's influenced the world, I think, in terms of protecting endangered species and native forests. He's been doing it for 40 years. Incredible man. I just think he's amazing. He did a film 2 years ago called The Giants, and it was based on the eucalyptus regnans that we have here, or the mountain ash. They're like the tallest flowering plant in the world. And we have one of the trees here they've measured, it's 100 metres tall, which is about, in your terms, I think about 368 feet tall.
So it's kind of big.
Kind of big. But he has, they've been cutting them down, Matt. They're going in there. We have a state government that owns a company here called Sustainable Timber Tasmania, and they have been cutting down these 300-year-old regnans. So, and not only do they go in there, they clear fell. So they're not only impacting that tree, they're impacting the entire forest, and they clear away everything. And then the sad part is they then go and pile everything back up, and then all the wildlife comes in and makes a home in that, and then they go and burn it.
I know.
And unfortunately, this crazy stuff's happening down here, and it's quite upsetting when you see just one tree on a big double D truck. So, you know, Bob's done an incredible job highlighting the problems that we have so that we can hopefully make some positive changes down here. But I actually hosted the film for him 2 years ago here, and did some donation work and what have you. I went and took a beautiful photograph of one of the regnans, and we raffled that and got money going and what have you. So that was really, really nice. And so when we decided to do this exhibition, we really wanted basically just to highlight the plight of our endangered species, because we've also got kingbilly pines, pencil pines. The kingbillies have been endangered for quite some time. They cut a lot down, and these trees are very slow growing. So I'm talking, I think the pencil pines only grow like 12 millimetres in diameter per year, and they grow for up to 2,000 years. And to cut one down is just, wow, you know, it's hard to take.
It's
so
rough.
Bob, you know, reached out to Bob, and we asked him if he'd be interested in opening the exhibition, and he said, yes, I would love to. So we were thrilled to bits that he's going to be doing that. We've also got, you know, the Tasmanian Land Conservancy, so they do a lot of work around regeneration projects. And part of that too is getting people involved in the volunteer projects that they have, so that we can just start replanting. I mean, if nothing else, let's just get some trees in the ground, you know, and also land care as well. So we've got those three organisations coming, and that should draw a fair few people in and get people talking and having a conversation, because that's really what we want to do, so that we can maybe uplift people, get them involved, get them. Bob has a saying. He says, don't get depressed, get active. And so, you know, jump in and just try and do your best. Get people to understand how precious our native forests really, really are. Because once they're gone, they're gone. Can't, you know,
that's right.
Can't get them back.
That was actually one of the things I was kind of shocked with when I went to Scotland, is just how much of their trees have been forested and clear cut. It's fascinating actually to see how much of it has been clear cut and managed over the last, I don't know, probably century or so, but it's not the best.
When you were with Tim, did he talk at all about anything that's going on there about reforestation in the wild areas there, or?
Yeah, I think there's a bit of that happening. I didn't really get a chance to talk to him about it, but
yeah, sure.
When you drive around, there's a lot of areas where you can see like just massive hillsides, just completely.
Just bare earth, isn't it? It's
Yeah, and it's apparently like it's politicized a little bit. Like it's a lot of those clear-cut areas. Like there's people who have land holdings, and the government's like incentivizing them to. Like I don't know the full situation, but it's not as simple as like, oh, an evil corporation wants the wood. Like there's a lot of nuance to it.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, we have a lot of that here.
Yeah.
Evil corporations wanting our wood, and mining too. Like, yeah, at the moment we're trying to. Bob's focused really strongly in the Tarkine, because that it should be World Heritage listed. I think it has. You need like I think 10 criteria out of the 15 to become a World Heritage listed site, and I think it has like 14 out of the 15 things that you need to be able to be listed as World Heritage, and they won't do it because it's there's too much money to be made out of Chinese miners coming in. Most of the Chinese own the mines there, and so it's about money and profit over, the environment. But slowly I think people are changing. It's like, don't give up. I think it's important that we may not see the huge changes that we would like to see in our lifetime, but over time, I think humans have the capacity to learn and to change and grow. And well, I'm hopeful that they do anyway, so that we have these places intact. And I'm pretty sure they will be, to be honest. Yeah.
Have you read Collapse?
No. What's that?
It's a really good book. My understanding is that it's not entirely factual. Like it was written, it's a little outdated. It's written by the guy that wrote Guns, Steel, Germs, War, Guns, with that guy. I can't remember his name, the author, but the book is really good. But it talks a lot about different civilizations there's some civilizations where they have had complete deforestation. Like if you look at the island that is Haiti and Dominican Republic, the Haitian side is completely deforested and their economy is almost completely collapsed, whereas Dominican Republic has placed more of a value on preserving some of the forested areas, and their economy is thriving. And he talks about in that book how like Japan was actually on a path of complete deforestation back in like the 1000, 1100, that era. And they saw it coming, and they basically implemented all these laws for how much wood you could chop down every year, and it saved the Japanese forests, and he would argue like their entire civilization. So it's fascinating that there's actually a lot of historical reference points of where humanity has made good choices and bad choices, and you can see the outcomes.
Yeah. And it's a reminder that we're all connected. What you do to one thing affects the whole. You can't just decimate, a species or a forest or even our ocean and not be impacted in some way.
Exactly.
It's I think people are waking up. I think, and I think our photography is really important because it shows you how beautiful this world is. It really does. And that's what I kind of love too about the NLPA community. When I got those volumes, and I talk a lot about this because they really did impact me a lot and allowed me to, it changed the way I photographed, because I decided to, okay, if I'm in an area now, I don't just look at the big vista. I start looking at all the details, and there are things that I would miss all the time. And now I'm so excited because you get to see and experience more of nature that you wouldn't normally. You would have just missed it. You would have walked past.
Right.
So,
totally.
I'm really grateful for that. Yeah, fantastic.
Awesome. Well, last couple of questions. So for photographers listening who might have a strong pull to advocate for their local landscapes like you're doing, what are some practical steps you'd recommend for turning personal passion into a tangible conversation project, whether through exhibitions, partnerships, or local campaigns?
I think first and foremost is maybe just find some like-minded people that love to do what you do, and then, sit down, get a campfire going, sit under the stars, and start talking about what you love. And if there is something that needs your attention, like when I found the cider gums, I had no idea that this would turn into, it was a personal project for me, but it ended up turning into, conservation advocacy. It turned into, now 3 exhibitions next year. It turned into being a voice for the trees. I never realized that would happen. But if you can and that did happen for me because I just went and spoke to a friend who was a fellow creative, and we decided we just wanted to explore and find out more. And then as we did that, it developed and we were able to say, well, actually, we could do something. So with the exhibition that we're doing next year, we've got part of the proceeds are going back to those organisations that are supporting regeneration projects for the endangered species. We've got a guy recently here wrote an amazing book called The Ancients, and it's based on our Tasmanian endemic trees. Andrew Darby is his name. Beautiful book, absolutely gorgeous book. And so I had Luke Sharkey, who lives down in Hobart, amazing photographer, Paul Holly and Andrew Phipps and Nick Monk. These guys all spend a lot of time out in the forest, out in the wilds of Tassie. And Luke reached out and said, hey, I've been thinking about doing a project and based on Andrew's book on these really old trees. And he said, do you want to do it with us? And I said, oh, absolutely.
How do you say no to that, right?
How do you say no to that? So it's kind of like it's interesting too, because we're all different and we all see in a completely different way, but that's the beauty of it. So then you can probably apply for art grants from the government so that you can maybe get some exhibitions going and be a voice for something that you're passionate about. Reaching out to just, the land conservancies and places like that, and maybe donating, even going out, taking a beautiful photograph, and maybe even just popping that online and saying, hey, all proceeds to the sale of this particular print is going to such and such. Just little things like that. It doesn't have to be a really big deal, but it gives you a purpose too, I think, and that's really important. I find sometimes if I feel a little bit lost, if I can find a direction again, and for me it's always about maybe trying to help and assist something in need. I'm just kind of like the earth mama. I want to help. So that's always a good thing. Just finding those people, and whether it's just the two of you or a small group of people, and coming together and going, hey, let's do this. Let's showcase this. What I found interesting, Matt, too, in the local area here too, is a lot of people where you live, a lot of people aren't aware of how much beauty there is around them. And so even just sharing on the, local community notice board sites, online and things like that, gets people inspired to get them out and get them off the couch and out into the forest, That's good.
I love it. Well, last question. Who do you recommend for the podcast?
Well, you've had everybody on that I absolutely love already.
Not everybody. Come on.
No, not everybody, because I still have a very long list. Stefano Balmer from Geneva. I just love his work. I think he must be going either into the Arctic Circle or somewhere, Greenland, or he's doing a lot of, beautiful ice work at the moment. Martin Rack from Prague, yeah. Martin Osner from South Africa. Hanneke van Camp. Please get Hanneke on. I just love her so much.
God, her project was so good.
Oh, I love what she's doing too. She's so passionate, and she's found a style there, and it's all about color and light and bringing that through in her.
But it's super
photograph.
soft.
Yeah, but it uplifts you. You can't help but feel good when you look at her work, right? It's just so beautiful.
That caribou photo in her project.
Oh, that was my favorite. It was like when I first saw that image, actually, Annika, it was like looking into a forest. At first, I thought I was looking into like a forest with some dead trees, right?
I know, exactly.
And they were reindeer. It was amazing.
And you're like, whoa, those are reindeer. Holy cow.
So good. We've got some really great Aussie photographers here. Jake Wilton, please talk to Jake. You would just love Jake. He's a wildlife photographer here in Australia. Sam Markham. So you had Sam, I think he was runner-up in, was it mountains or grand landscape?
Grand landscape, I believe, with
Sam's doing some beautiful work. Tim Smith in the UK, David Shaw.
You're just going to list everyone on Earth.
I am. Kenny Muir, please.
Oh, I do love Kenny's stuff.
I love Kenny too. Fiona Campbell, please.
I love Kenny's Scott's Pine photos are really good.
That was incredible. Yeah. See, I do have a fair bit of tree envy in the UK there and in Scotland with the hoarfrost. Oh, Simon Baxter. Have you spoken to Simon?
Yes.
Oh, I've missed that one. I'll have to go find it.
You have to go back.
Yes, I will. Yeah, I love Simon's work too.
Well, Joy, this has been a joy.
Thank you, Matt.
Awesome. Thanks for joining me for another great episode. If you enjoyed this conversation with Joy and want to help keep the podcast going, the best way to do that is by supporting the show directly. You can find the Patreon link in the show notes, and even joining for free helps keep the conversation alive and shows that this work matters. You'll also find links in the show notes to Joy's work and the organizations and ideas that we talked about today. And if you'd like to actually see the photographs that we discussed, this episode is available on YouTube as well, or you can visit the extensive show notes at mattpaynephotography.com. Thanks for stopping in, collaborating with us, and listening. See you next week.